S'ak Pase. Thank you, Merci en pile, for tuning in, and welcome again to the Haitian American Dream Podcast. I am your host, Sophie, aka Miss Royale. On this podcast, I discuss the beauty, the flaws, and all that Haitian culture is made up of. You can also be sure to find a little bit of history, a dash of comedy, and a major focus on the importance of mental health in our community. So go on ahead, pull up a chair, get comfy, and pour yourself a glass of Malta, cremas, cola champagne, or whatever your Haitian drink of choice is, and let's start the show. Welcome everyone to episode 3, numéro 3. For my Haitians or non-Haitians who don't speak Creole, I'm going to sprinkle a little Creole here and there just so I could teach you a little something, you know what I'm saying? I used to teach, I know how to teach a little bit. So number 3, I'm so happy to be at this episode. It has been a long time coming for the 3rd episode. Running a podcast is way harder than I thought it would be. Well, it always seemed hard to me, but I didn't realize it would be this hard. And also just putting your craft out there into the world and just having people see your stuff can be really scary, especially when you're not as confident or secure completely when it comes to your art. This is something that I've just recently began to really, explore and whatnot. So with that being said, have patience with me. For those of you who listen to it, I know it's probably just like my friends and like my older sister. So hey y'all, but still, I'm trying to be more consistent with everything in life, and especially with the podcast. I really want it to, become something bigger than me and not just be me rambling about things that I find important. I want it to be more of a conversation, a dialogue with people who obviously are Haitian or of Haitian descent, who proudly rep, and people who just, seriously care about our culture and really want us to advance, not just financially, of course, I want that too, but mentally, physically, spiritually, all of those great, amazing things, so that we can just be totally amazing, awesome, all around people. Not that we aren't awesome already, but yeah. So with that being said, I apologize for the great delay. I actually recorded this episode the day... Was it MLK Day? I think it was. I recorded this on MLK Day, and I did not post it. I refused to post it because I didn't like it. I thought it wasn't good enough. There were some things I wanted to tweak and change, so I said, you know what? Forget it. I'm just going to re-record the entire thing and keep it pushing. So that's what I'm doing right now, is re-recording. Yes, I had literally about... y'all are going to think I'm crazy. I recorded 30 minutes of one episode, of the 3rd episode, and I didn't like that at all. Cut it. 30 minutes of another part of that episode, cut it. Didn't like, that one was better. It was much better. But I just was like, nope, I'm going to redo this, and that's just going to be what it is. So the product that you guys are now hearing is the product of a whole bunch of insecurities and whatnot. And you might be thinking, why am I saying all this? Well, because I want to be real and genuine. Like, this is what it is. So I'm going to be real with you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive straight into the show. And let's go to our music magic section. Whoop, 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 whoop. I gotta have like a little beat for this. I want to use the same beat as the intro and the outro. I want to do something a little, anyone who does beats, you can always hit me up. I always want something new, a little bit fresh. You know what I'm saying? What the kids is listening to and stuff. I'm about to be, a little bit older now. I need to know what the streets is listening to. What's hot in the streets, But anyway, so we're going to move on to our music magic section. And it's funny because the day when I recorded this, I said something about Throwback Thursday. Did I record it on the Thursday? I don't remember. So because it's actually gonna be the week of, this is the last week of the month. So it actually works out perfect. Look at God. So the last week of the month is always gonna be Throwback Thursday, guys. So, oh wow, I recorded this. Okay, now everything's coming back to me. Wow, MLK Day is in January, guys. So this episode was supposed to come out like the very last week of January. Anyways, so like I was saying, music magic. The last week of every month is supposed to be the Throwback Jam. And like I said, it's the last week of February. So we're going to do the Throwback Jam. So recently I saw a post, not so recent, a few weeks back on one of my favorite blogs. And Haitian social media pages, La Union Suite by Mrs. Wanda, whose work I love. She posted something about the Migos, their album, The Culture 2. Basically, they have a sample on their album. The song is called Narcos, and it's actually a sample of an old Haitian compa band. And for those who know me well, I love old music, and I love old Haitian music. Like, I'm talking the instruments and everything out, like the big old saxophone and the trumpet. I love it. That's why when I lived in New Orleans, I was just in love every day, because like you would hear music coming from everywhere. So anyways, yeah, so the name of their song, actually, I need to go double check so I don't say the wrong name, but give me a second, y'all. So the name of the band was, I don't think they're still in action, but anyways, the name of the band was Les Difficiles de Pétronville, and the name of the song is Espoir / Composition X. So yeah, that's the name of it, Espoir, which basically means faith, or hope. Espoir, basically. So I have faith in you, whatever, Espoir. Les Difficiles, the difficult of Pétronville. Pétronville is a city in Haiti. So anyways, they sampled their song, and I thought that was really dope. I'm like, wow, like not a lot of people, will sample Haitian artists. It's usually, being real frank with y'all, it's usually, if someone samples something from the Caribbean, it's usually a reggae song or something we've heard a lot. Like, for example, Sister Nancy, that poor woman, her voice has been dragged along in everyone's song. I swear, sorry, rant, I feel like I said this before, but they need to be paying that woman royalties after royalties, because I done heard her beautiful voice in so many different people's songs, and I'm just like, I hope y'all not just using this lady's voice for free, because she needs so much money. The amount of times I've heard Sister Nancy, bum bum bidum bum bum, what a bum bum, like, Sister Nancy voice is legendary forever. But anyway, so my whole point is, most of the time when you hear sample, it'll be from perhaps, a Jamaican artist or whomever. I think I'm starting to hear more like from different islands, but for the most part, the Jamaican music get that love, it's cool. Usually if there is a sample, it's usually by another Haitian artist or something of that nature. For example, actually this song was sampled first from Wyclef, his album, I believe it was, I'm sorry, I keep saying and usually I want to cut that out, but I'm not even gonna do all that, because that's gonna be extra work when I'm editing. So I apologize in advance if I say like 1,000 times. So anyways, I crack myself up. So Wyclef had that sample in his, I believe it was the Carnival 2, perhaps. I don't feel like fact checking right now, but I know it was definitely on one of his albums that I actually had as a kid. My brother bought it for me. Random fact, I don't know why, but as a kid, everyone would either buy me books or CDs. So that was like, I have a whole bunch of random books and stuff still, and CDs. But anyways, so yeah, he had actually sampled it on his song, I believe it was called Push the Button, or I think, no, that song was Carnival. It was basically like a real hot record. Y'all, just listen, hear me out, okay? It was a great song. I believe it was called Push Your Button, though. And then at the end, he has like a part where he dedicates to Haiti. It's called Rouge et Bleu and Red and Blue. And it's like a real sad song, but the beginning part of that track, straight fire. Like, I like to play it in my car sometime and just be real Haitian and ignorant and have it really loud. So anyways, but yeah, so that is the song. I'm gonna actually play it for y'all because I done did a whole lot of talking. Like I said, the name of the Migos song that they sample, the name of the Migos song is Narcos, which is, I'm sure there's some older Haitians who probably be like, oh, whatever, but we're gonna keep it pushing. Like I said, the name of the original song is Les Difficiles de Pétronville. The name of the song is Espoir. Sorry, the name of the band is Les Difficiles de Pétronville, and the name of the song is Espoir. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and check that out. It's on YouTube. You will find it. I know we probably, not all of us are, literate in spelling Creole, for those of us who may have been born in the American states and stuff. And so, I'll leave a little description somewhere on my Instagram, whatever, wherever you guys click to listen to this, and I'll spell it out for you. And but I'm going to play a quick clip, so I hope you guys enjoy. I'm going to take you back to the old school compa. This is where it really come from. All right, it's everyone's favorite part of the day, or favorite part of the podcast, Haitian of the day. Will you be chosen? Will your mother be chosen? Or will your father be chosen? You never know until you tune into the Haitian of the day on the Haitian American Dream Podcast. Okay. All right, so I'm actually going to pick someone who I just recently met online. We haven't met in person before, but it is a young woman who runs a blog, Colorism.com, another one of my favorite Haitian blogs or Haitian influencers in these internet streets or streets, as I like to say sometimes. But yeah, so Creolicious.com is the name of her blog, name of her site. By the way, she has a history book, which I'm like, yo, Haitians are really out here doing, like, hold on, because I have to give her a plug real quick, because I just thought that was so dope, because I love history. I'm all about that. I need to purchase it, to be honest, because I haven't yet. I'm sorry, system beaucoup acheter, but ma acheter, okay? So she has a book called Haiti History 101, The Definitive Guide to Haitian History. And then she has, I thought it was just one. She has two, The Haitian American's Guide to Haitian History. So she has two books, y'all. Hold on, I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, girl, if you hear this, sometimes I'll be ripping and running, going straight through, just saying things off the fly. But anywho, so I would like to give a shout out and dedicate the Haitian of the Day section to Creolicious. Not only is she an awesome influencer and blogger and all these great things, but she just brings a really positive light to the Haitian American community. And anyone who does that, I love them off bat. Like, I don't even got to meet you. Your energy, from what I see you doing in the world, I'm already in love with it. It's great. It's awesome. And I just want to encourage others to keep pushing, keep doing what you do. Because, there's people like myself who see that and are just like, wow, like, really inspired, really encouraged. So I know for me, I get really discouraged sometimes. And I actually spoke to Creolicious about that a little bit. And it just makes me think about how, you just never know what anyone is going through. So it's like for her or anyone else who does, like anything online, whatever, just entertainment, influence, whatever you may be doing to impact a larger audience. You never know what we're going through behind the scenes. So encourage people, inspire them however you can, and just be real positive and all that. So like I said, Creolicious is the Haitian of the day. I appreciate her work, and I just think that her, as well as a whole bunch of other Haitian influencers, and like I said, from La Union Suite, Mrs. Wanda, all these people, awesome Haitians. We out here, we lit. My Zos is lit. But anyway, so it's funny I actually mentioned her because she's actually going to be low-key featured in this. Well, no, she's not. Like, I'm not interviewing her. I don't have anyone set up for interviews yet, but I am going to reference one of her articles because it actually helps me with my topic today. So, shout out to Creolicious ×2. Merci, sister. Continuez faire bon travail. Que bon Dieu bénisse vous. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Quick Crack section, which, as you all know, for those who have been listening, the Quick Crack section of the show is basically where I go in on mental health in the Haitian community and why it is important, since it is a topic that is very taboo, not only in the Black community at large, but especially in the Caribbean and especially with my Haitian people. Before anyone talks about anything when it comes to mental health, it's always, prier, or problem, like someone's possessed, something of that nature. One of my reasons that I do this podcast is to really talk about these issues and break them down and hopefully inspire other people to do the same, so we can start having these dialogues, start having these conversations. So today we're going to be discussing colorism, and for those who are unaware of what colorism means, I'm going to give you a quick textbook definition. So, colorism is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. So, colorism is basically something that you can find not only in the Black community or the African diaspora, but all over the world. In any country where they have multiple shades of color that can range from light, very pale, to very dark, there is colorism. There's colorism in Asia. There's colorism in Brazil. There's colorism in the Dominican Republic. There is colorism in Cuba or Cuba. And it's basically anywhere, like I said, that you can find people of darker skin tone. I know it's a topic that a lot of us don't usually discuss. And actually, just recently, I was speaking to a few friends to see what their opinion and their feedback was on it and what they knew about it. And I came to the conclusion that it's not really something we talk about. So we're misinformed. As far as here in America, I know about it and, the different things that it comes with or came with in the past and still does today. But I didn't know the full extent of it in Haitian culture or back in Haiti. So I did some research. Shout out to Creolicious again, because I actually found some of this information on her site regarding the elites and colorism and all these different things in Haiti back in the 1930s, 1920s, all of so anywho, basically what I found is that, which I already knew this, but the issue of colorism is largely tied to wealth. The lighter you are, the more wealth you may have had, or the more wealth you were allowed to have. And those who are of a darker skin would usually be more basically regarded as being a commoner, someone who, is on the street selling things, or someone who just simply doesn't have a lot of money or doesn't have any money at all. Munamon, people who live in the mountains, as Haitians will say. So one thing I saw on Creolicious.com, this was a post she made. Let me see. I believe this was back in 2013. Let me not say the wrong dates. This was, hold on, I don't see the date actually. Okay, regardless, the name of the article is The Charmed Life of the Haitian Elite, or A Pictorial History of the Haitian Bourgeoisie, Part 1. So one thing she mentioned was Sophia Saint-Remy Mateli. For those who know Michel Mateli, or aka Sweet Mickey, that's his wife. She actually told the Miami New Times, basically, she was explaining that her upper-class family once opposed her 1987 marriage to musician Joseph Michel Mateli, later president of Haiti, because although he was fair-skinned as she, and they were both from the same social sphere, apparently both mothers objected to the union on the ground of skin color. Sophia and Martelly have light golden-hued skin and vaguely negroid features. In her mother's eyes, the marriage would not improve the race, achieved by blending light and dark. It's stupid, but that's Haiti. Sophia sighs. So apparently there was this idea, from what it looks like, that you must blend light and dark in order to achieve light, which is actually really interesting to me, because it seemed that in America, it was usually the idea of light and light. So people who are of a lighter hue would want to mate with someone who is of a lighter hue as well. I actually just saw on Twitter a few weeks ago, when this was originally, this woman who I actually been following on YouTube since I was in middle school. And she used to do natural hair videos and whatnot. Regardless, her name is Kim Love, and her page is KimmayTube, KimmayTube. Shout out to her. I love her posts. She talks about assortative mating, which is basically where it's arranged marriage, basically, but in this case based off of colorism, and you dating or being with someone who is of a specific hue, in order that your children or who you produce will also be of that same hue. And she was just basically saying that during the times when HBCUs first began, and the very early 1900s, May basically was saying how the reason why a lot of Black Americans here are first generation college grads is because if you are darker skinned, and your grandparents were as well, that's why. So basically she was saying a lot of HBCUs, historically Black colleges or universities, would do the paper bag test, which, for those who don't know, is when you would have to stand next to a paper bag, and if you were lighter, you were accepted. If you were darker, you were not. And that didn't only happen at schools, it also happened in different social settings or different social groups. And recently, Matthew knows Beyonce's father, whom a lot of people seem to hate nowadays, but whatever. So he basically has a book where he is talking about the issue of colorism, and he was saying how he was actually in a class where they'd take out a brown paper bag, and if you were darker than that bag, you could not get into Fisk. And he said this was 1972. So I think I made a mistake earlier. I said 1920s and 30s. Yeah, this extended to the 70s. which is not that far from where we are today. So that's what's crazy about it. And so they asked him in an interview, this was his interview, I'm sorry, with Ebony, and they said, how have you and your family experienced colorism? And he was saying how his mom told him, don't ever bring no nappy-headed black girls to my house. Let that sink in. This is a man who is of darker skin, and I'm assuming, I don't know his mother, but I'm assuming she may have also been. But for her to come out of her mouth and say something like that, and it's not her fault. I'm not even going to sit here and say it's her fault. Because if you look at the way that history is set up, this is something that unfortunately seems like we cannot escape. It's something that's literally stuck with us since the time of the enslavement period, where people who were of a lighter skin complexion would be given more benefits. They would be allowed to stay out of the sun, to be in the house cooking as opposed to on the fields. And I know people say this time and time again, but it's true. These are facts. This is not something that I'm just pulling out of my behind. You can quickly Google it. So with that being said, when people jump out their face and say things like, oh, dark-skinned people are just being upset, especially dark-skinned women, whatever. No, it's something that has gone on historically. And colorism is not just a thing of, oh, she's too dark, I won't date her. He's too dark, I won't date him. Whatever. It's literally something that affects you economically, mentally, and of course, relationship-wise. So people who are of darker skin may be basically subjugated to being told, oh, that they're unattractive and therefore they are undeserving of love or undeserving of a real relationship or something of that nature. And I can go a little bit deeper into that part specifically, but I don't really want to. I want to talk about more of how it was an issue in Haiti specifically, which I spoke to one of my friends and she said something that I didn't necessarily know, where she basically said that her father spoke about how there's a section in Haiti. I'm not going to say the name because I don't know it, but if it's in your family, you probably know. But apparently there were people who were of much, much lighter skin. Now, I'm not talking about just like, just fair skin, like someone of Beyonce's tone. I'm assuming from what I can tell from the way the story went, it's people who are like, their skin complexion is like almost closer to being white, or maybe be assumed to be of like Hispanic descent. These people would basically mate with their cousins or their family in order for them to keep the lighter skin in the family, because as Haitians would say, you're not promoting the race, meaning that you're not uplifting it by producing children who are lighter. And I want to say this because a lot of people don't realize how closely tied Haitian culture and Hispanic culture is, but there's a phrase in Spanish that basically says to promote the race, and I believe it's called hold on, I'm not even gonna butcher it. I don't even want to butcher it, so I'm gonna look it up really quick for y'all. The saying goes mejora la raza, and it basically is saying to promote the race or improve the race. And basically that's a quote that's directly tied to colorism. It's basically saying that the darker you are in the Latina community or Latinx community, that basically you're not as good, or not as good or as attractive or as wanted or appreciated in the community as someone who is of a lighter skin tone. So with that being said, those are just some examples to show you that it's not something that just affects us here in America when it comes to just African Americans, but it's also something that goes far and wide, and even to the motherland, to the continent that we all hold our ties to originally. So that's what makes it like crazy in my mind. It's like, here you have this issue that's so far and wide, and it's not even that it's an issue that necessarily that white people are well, I'm not gonna say it's not their fault. I will never not say that, but what I'm saying is, like, it's not something that they think of when they see us. They see a black person, it's like, okay, they're black, right? For the most part, at least. But I'm pretty sure it plays a part in different things, don't get me wrong. But it just drives me crazy because I know there's this letter, quote unquote, that's by a man or a person who was a plantation owner or whatever in the Caribbean, I believe, and his name is Willie Lynch. Some people say the letter is fake, some people say it's not fake, whatever. It's something that I learned back in high school, and since then I've always heard people talk about it. Willie Lynch syndrome, as some people call it, is the whole idea of during enslavement, like I said, when there were lighter skinned people working in the house and darker skinned people working on the fields, basically how those, the two different sets of groups of people, lighter and dark, would be treated differently based off of their skin complexion. And when we take it back that far, you have to think about the fact that a lot of these lighter skinned enslaved Africans were basically most of the time products of the master raping an enslaved woman. So with that being said, most of these masters knew, oh yeah, that's my kinfolk, they're lighter than these other folks. And not to say that all, not all light-skinned people are basically a product of a situation of that, that issue, but for the most part during enslavement, that's what it was. I know some people, I've seen this on Twitter debates where people are like, oh well, light-skinned people are only here because of rape during enslavement, and people are like, whoop, hold on a second. That's false. So that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that all people who are of a lighter hue are the product of rape during enslavement. That is completely false. So anyways, basically what happened in this letter is that Willie Lynch was basically, he created a strategic plan of how to separate the enslaved folks from each other. So he separated young and old. He basically said, this is how you have to do it. Make sure the young and old are competing. Make sure men and women are competing. Make sure the lighter skinned slave and the darker skinned slave are in competition or competing. And till this day, people say, oh, that's, the other slave owners in America, wherever, took that and ran with it. And since then, it has been implemented in the Black community. Now, like I said, some people say this is not a real letter. Some people say it's a hoax. Whatever it might be, it is what it is. Young versus old, men versus women in our community, lighter versus dark skin. And that's why I say it's not just a simple social media issue of Twitter or Instagram, people making jokes, team light skin, team dark skin. No, it's something that's historically an issue. And as you guys know, like I said, I want to also discuss how it affects you mentally. And so I actually looked up a few things and I found some things that basically discuss this. And let me just... Okay, so I found this on the coursescholar.librarieswrite.edu. And so one thing I found in this particular paper, which I'll give the name of the authors in a little bit. Basically, so the person says, in particular, several studies have explored the impacts of colorism on both light and dark skinned women, Anderson and Cromwell 1977, Elmore 2009, etc., etc., in which it has been established that both groups experience discrimination based on color. Correct. However, research demonstrates that dark skinned women are more likely to have negative impacts on self-esteem, and that was quoted from Hughes and Hertel 1990, and the author of this actual paper, sorry, I should have said this at the beginning, this is not a good psych student. So according to Lauren A. Fultz from Wright State University, and she wrote this in 2013, the name of the, I apologize, this is her dissertation. Ooh, I am so sorry if she ever hears this, I don't think she will, but the name of her dissertation is The Psychosocial Impact of Colorism Among African American Women, Crossing the Divide. Ooh, I gotta read this whole entire thing. I just found it and I thought it was a good thing to talk about. But anywho, so essentially it's basically saying, like, darker skinned women experience this on a much larger scale, and therefore it also impacts their self-esteem more. And as we know, self-esteem is obviously something, that deals with you. It's your self-esteem. Like, no one can take that away from you technically. It's how you feel about yourself. People can tell you you're beautiful till you're black and blue, but if you don't believe it, you don't believe it, and that's just what it is. And so one of the things that she also mentions in this paper is that various studies have illustrated how racism affects psychological outcomes related to educational opportunities, achievement, psychological well-being, self-concept, and identity formation. And I actually did a study in college about this, about how racism affects you mentally and psychologically, etc. And so the same factors that are at play when it comes to racism, as far as, people's psyche, is the same thing that happens during colorism. You're being told that, well, you're not good enough based off of the fact that you look a certain way. Your skin is a certain tone. Therefore, you don't fit in. Therefore, you don't match, or you don't matter, or you are not deserving of these greater things, X, Y, and Z. So that is why I say when people say things like, oh, it's just people being angry, that is not the case. It's far from the case. And it also makes me think about how oftentimes when Black people talk about their struggle with racism, the first thing that white people will say is, oh, there's no such thing as racism, or it doesn't exist anymore. And they'll just basically deflect. They'll think of, oh, well, what about this? Well, you're able to do this, you're able to do that. But the fact of the matter is, historically, people have been disenfranchised or let back or not given enough because of them not looking a certain way. That is the issue that people have. So when people are talking about colorism, it's not so much how I used to see a lot of people debating, oh, well, there's not enough dark-skinned women in videos, music videos, and whatever. I came to a point where I was just like, who cares, right? The thing that I'm more concerned about is the mental impact and how can we fix it, right? So, like I mentioned earlier, there were literally some people in Haiti who would mate with family in order to keep it in, to keep their, sorry y'all. So basically, like I mentioned earlier in Haiti, that there are some people who would literally mate with their own family to keep people light. Think about the extent in which you have to really not love yourself as a Black person for you to think that far. And of course, I think, there's a point where you can say, well, it's not necessarily their fault, they don't know any better. But then it's like, how much do you need to know, right? You're literally directly discriminating against a group of people based off of how they look. And we complain as a whole, as Black people, that we're being discriminated against. But then you have to think about how we discriminate against one another within our own group, intra-group issues. And honestly, I feel like this is a topic that I'm going to probably discuss multiple times again. But it's just something I wanted to kind of bring to the forefront and discuss quickly. And I actually wanted to mention, because I think I said it earlier and I didn't even finish my point, but Love and Hip Hop recently had the storyline with Amara La Negra, where that producer, Young Hollywood, whatever, I guess they're friends now, so cool. I'm not going to talk too much about him, but because he helped her with something on the show. But basically, it was this whole issue of, oh, there's no such thing as an Afro-Latina or Afro-Latino. And I just was like, wow, people are really stupid. Like, I didn't know people were stupid on that level. I know people were stupid, but like, come on, Anyway, so he went through this whole thing like, oh, like, there's no such thing as an Afro-Latino. Well, he didn't necessarily say that, but he was just saying, like, what is that? What is an Afro-Latino? Like, he was questioning because he, quote unquote, never heard of it. Okay, cool. And she is a Dominican girl, and she's a darker skinned woman as well, who's like my skin tone, So most people are used to seeing, Dominicans who are a very fair complexion. But you also have to think about the fact that Dominican Republic is right next to Haiti. We're literally cousins. Whether some of them like to hear that or not, it's true. We literally have most of the same exact food. Well, don't even get me started on that, because the whole Caribbean, we have very similar foods. But when it comes to Dominicans and Haitians, I think we have way more in common than any of us like to actually say. Well, I don't have a problem saying it. It doesn't matter to me. Like I said, we're cousins. Like, I don't care. We cousins that may hate on each other sometimes, but we love each other at the end of the day. Well, at least I do. So that's just what it is. So basically, like I said, in the storyline, he was just saying he doesn't know what that is, whatever. Amara La Negra also went on The Breakfast Club and spoke to Charlemagne, who I'm not even about to get into how I feel about that man, because there was a point when I could not stand him. And then at one point I was like, you know what? He actually makes sense sometimes. Now I'm back at that point where I'm just like, I cannot deal at all. He basically, in the interview, was deflecting from everything she said and was basically saying, oh, are you sure that's not all in your head? And then he mentioned something about, oh, well, if you're dealing with colorism and issues of success, then why is Cardi B popping or, making it up there? And she just like, Like, I guess she gave a face or something and whatever. And I'm just like, how does that make sense? Like, you just ask the person, is it all in your head? I know you're an interviewer, you're doing your job, but I'm just like, how do you come out of your face and say that? For someone who not only, he's always talking about black issues and all these different things, I'm like, where is that coming from? Like, did you do your research before you did your interview? I just don't know how people operate like that. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So people were going crazy on the Twitter streets, Instagram, all that, and talking about it. And that's that. The storyline basically has died down since then. But it was this big thing, like, when the show first started, like, people were wilding. Like, I was even like, oh my God, this is crazy. But then I saw an interview with Mona Scott Young, who I said is the executive producer and also of Haitian descent. And she mentioned, like, you know, people are upset about the storyline, but this is something we need to really discuss. And that's when I finally was like, you know what? I know people talk down on the franchise of Love and Hip Hop, but she had a great point about that. Like, there are certain things that's discussed on the show that people really need to open up and talk about, because we don't, and we need to. So, anywho, there were a few things that I wanted to mention as well before I close out, just to kind of give you guys some more background, because there are, like, articles and studies done on this, and it's not just something that's in people's heads, especially not in the Caribbean community and whatnot. And the reason why I said I'm going to make a part 2 is because I also want to talk about some people's favorite thing to do in the Caribbean and as well as in Africa is to skin bleach. And that's something I want to talk about another time, because it'll take way longer. Well, maybe not, but still, it'll make this way longer than it needs to be. So I found on Questia.com an article by Nadine Burnett, Colorism and Mental Health, Looking the Other Way. And in this, so Nadine basically discusses the issues of colorism and whatnot. And quote, she says, within minority populations, despite the amazing accomplishments, major disparities remain based on skin color. And Nadine goes on to say, for example, lighter-skinned African American males with less education and work experience were preferred to dark-skinned African American males with more education and work experience, which she found from Harrison and Thomas 2009. And if you sit there and think about it, so someone who is not to talk down on people who are less educated, but for someone to have less education and work experience, but still to be preferred over someone with more education and more experience simply because they're of lighter complexion. Think about how absurd that sounds. For a woman, for example, to be like, well, he ain't got no job or no degree or no education at all. He ain't even finished middle school, but he light skinned though. Like, how stupid. Like, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, how stupid. Not even how stupid does it sound. How stupid. That's it. Period. And according to Hughes and Hertel, 1990, darker skinned African Americans earn less than lighter skinned African Americans, 72 cents to $1, which that really shocked me, because that's another issue that just blows my mind in general. But it makes me think about, like I said, going back to the enslavement period, where people were treated differently depending on their hue. You would either be in the house or be on the field. And so since then, like I said, people have been looked upon as you're either a commoner or you're a part of the elite. And this is strictly based off of whether you are lighter or if you are darker. And something I forgot to mention earlier is the whole entire theory is that colorism is largely tied to white supremacy, which, if you don't know what that means, I suggest you do a quick Google search. So the fact of the matter is, no matter what we try to do, white supremacy somehow has its head just dangling over us, you know? So, like, some people will say, like, they don't even have to do the work for us. We do it ourselves. And I'm not talking about, like, the whole black on black crime thing, which that's a whole nother story, because I hate when people say that phrase. It's not a thing. It doesn't exist. People tend to commit crimes against people who they are in a neighborhood with. So there is white on white crime if that's the case. But anyways, let's move on. So basically, as I was saying, so, you know, we do the work for them, basically. So we continue to uphold white supremacy because most of us, if not all of us, have been brainwashed to believe certain things about ourselves that's not true. So whether that means that you hate yourself because of the color of your skin, and you decide to change it, I'm not going to say anything, that's your body, but it's so many different things that we do that we don't realize the reason why we're doing it is because of white supremacy. So anywho, another quote or example she gave, Nadine, in her paper says light-skinned Latinos made 5,000 more on average than dark-skinned Latinos. And this person, Vidantam, 2010. So this is something that's 8 years ago. That's more recent than the other quotes I said. And it just makes you go to think, like, this colorism thing, y'all, it's like, it's really deep. It's not just a matter, like I said, of, oh, are you attractive or are you not? Are you going to be in the music video or are you not? It's not. It goes so much deeper. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and read the last two quotes because I think these are even more important. So the second to last quote Nadine put is, darker skinned African American defendants were twice as likely to receive the death penalty for crimes involving white victims. Eberhardt, Davies, Purdy, Vaughns, and Johnson, 2006. So the fact of you being of a darker complexion, you would receive the death penalty for crimes. You would be more likely to receive the death penalty. And this just goes back to the idea that people will say sometimes, the closer to white, the better, or something like that. Like, some people think like that. Some people really think the closer you are to white, the better you are, the more right you are. And it's also an issue where you see in media, like, I feel like I haven't even mentioned media. That's why this has to be a multiple part series, because it's such a wide issue in general, like I said, to the point where, like I said, yeah, I wanted to, like, specifically target the Haitian community, but it's something that extends far and wide and goes beyond that, and it can't even be contained in one country. It's a virus, just like racism. It just spreads, you know. The last quote she has here, lighter skinned African American women receive shorter prison sentences than their darker skinned counterparts. Vigilone Hanan and Defina, 2011. So, like I said, that was just another article that I found about this, and I just thought it was really important to mention, because people really think colorism is just a thing of people ranting and raving on Twitter, when it's so much deeper. And one more thing I'll say is, let's see. So one of the things that Nadine says, so quote, colorism as a form of emotional abuse can be expressed directly through word and or deed from peers, family members, and caregivers, or it can be expressed indirectly via an unending course of negative stereotypes in the media, end quote. For example, oftentimes you'll see like darker skinned men or darker skinned women being more aggressive, or having to play the roles of someone who is more violent, or quote unquote has an attitude. So now that if I express myself in real life, I'm considered to be the angry black woman, the angry dark skinned woman, whatever the case might be. And the issue with that is that these issues go so much deeper, and they have negative effects, like Nadine said, quote, on the development of a child's self-esteem and self-worth. Poor self-esteem increases a child's likelihood of engaging in disruptive behaviors, example, criminal acts, substance abuse, promiscuity, or truancy, as well as increased vulnerability to psychiatric disorders. So, I say all that to say, when people are talking about colorism, it is not something that can simply go away within a minute. It's something that we need to discuss, something that we need to really dive into and really try to eradicate, period. Like, yeah, racism is a thing we need to, obviously, well, not we, people who created it need to take it out. But because we still uphold the issues of colorism and the issue of white supremacy in our own community, that's something I believe we need to start working on from the inside out as well. And this whole team light skin, team dark skin thing, and people are like, oh, why are we still talking about this since 2018? Because it still exists. You do not simply say an issue should go away and it poof disappears. Boopity boopity bop. This ain't Cinderella. This ain't Disney. This is real life. So, like, we need to really think about these issues and work on getting them out the way. Instead of just ignoring or trying to sweep it under the rug, let's talk about it. Let's put it out on, let's have everyone talk. How do you feel about this? What are we going to do to make this better? And I think we are going in a great direction these days, where people are embracing people of darker skin tones and, you know, all these other things, my melanin popping and all this. people are learning to really love and embrace who they are. I think that we just need to keep that up and continue that, but also continue to have positive dialogue where no one is shouting over anyone else, but people are actually speaking and talking about this issue and trying to find solutions. Solution-based discussions is what I want to hear. I don't want to hear people shouting and, oh, well, you call me this in the 3rd grade. Cool. But let's heal from that. Let's start to heal ourselves and, really go forward. So, sorry. I hope my voice didn't sound like that the whole time, guys. Anywho, so I just really hope that, this resonates with you all, and that for those who didn't understand the issues of colorism, perhaps now you do. And like I said, this is going to be a multiple part series. This is just the very beginning of this. So just want you guys to keep that in mind. And like I said, I'm going to actually, hopefully on the next one, I can have someone, with me on this and we can discuss it. Maybe another person who isn't my complexion, who understands it from a different point of view. Like, let's talk about this, guys. I really want this to be something that, this podcast to be a platform where everyone can chip in and give their point of view and their idea for a solution. All right. So thank you all for tuning into Creek Crack. We're going to go ahead and move on to Sophie's Corner of Wisdom, and we will close out the show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure you leave your comments, your feedback, your responses, what have you. If you have something personal you want to say, you can always DM me as well. You can actually find the podcast. Sorry if y'all hear the sirens. I kind of live in the hood and whatnot. But so you can actually go to my page, Miss Royale. It's MISS.ROYALE. It's on Instagram. Then you can also go on Instagram and type in THAD.podcast. THAD Podcast, the Haitian American Dream. You can also search the tag and you'll find it. So yeah, let's go ahead and move on. All right, and we're back. So welcome to Sophie's Corner of Wisdom. So this is going to be really quick, probably a few seconds, depending on how I feel, how the spirit moves me. But so I was thinking about this one quote. I don't feel like looking it up, but it basically talks about speaking up even if your voice quivers or shakes, something like that. I don't know who it's by, but I'm just saying it. It's something that's been on my mind a lot for the last few hours, actually. And I just have been thinking about how oftentimes I get afraid or like kind of shaky in myself. Not like necessarily nervous in front of people. I'm usually pretty good at masking that. I'm a great actress, I think. Anyways, and I just want to say to anyone out there who has something that they want to say or they want to do, don't be afraid to say it. Don't be afraid to do it. Even if your voice shakes, I need you to be out there giving your message, doing what you've been called for by God, by the universe. And I need you to just really be yourself, be candid, be real, be genuine, be authentic, be beautiful, be you. Your voice may shake, your voice may quiver, but your message is what matters. Go out there and do what you gotta do. Thank you once again to everyone for tuning into the Haitian American Dream podcast. It is your host, Sophie, aka Miss Royale. I hope you guys enjoyed and that you come back for more. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, THAD.podcast, at THAD.podcast. We do not have a Twitter, we just have an Instagram for now. Make sure you dial in to the dialogue and let's get this popping. Let's discuss.